Now let's get to some good news.
Big breaking news at this moment. We are told that Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader right now, and he has been the leader since 2007 of the Senate Republicans, will announce shortly on the floor of the U.S. Senate that he is going to step down as leader.
When you lose a loved one, particularly at a young age, there's a certain introspection that accompanies the grieving process. Perhaps it is God's way of reminding you of your own life's journey, to reprioritize the impact of the world that we will all inevitably leave behind. I'm unconflicted about the good within our country and the irreplaceable role we play as the leader of the free world. Believe me, I know the politics within my party at this particular moment in time.
He is really a turtle. He won't, dude.
My goals when I was narrowly elected to the Senate back in 1984 were fairly modest. Do a good job for the people of Kentucky and convince them that by doing so, they might rehire me for a second term. That was it. That was the plan. I have the honor of representing Kentucky in the Senate longer than anyone else in our state's history.
He is filibustering death. Do you think he thinks he's a good person? Yes. Everyone thinks they're a good person. I'm sure he thinks he's a good person. People delude themselves into thinking that they're good people when they're doing like pure evil all the time. That's how it is.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh, come on now. I mean, he is. There's no way that this man is not legitimately suffering serious health complications behind the scenes. He would just keep going. There's no time limit, and they love being in power and holding on. He has to be throwing in the towel because he's at death's door.
Colleagues have given me until we select a new leader in November, and they take the helm next January.
He has 2 years of the term left, and since Cameron lost the governor's race, he'd be very pleased if he became the next senator. Yeah, they're going to put Daniel Cameron in that position. He's been grooming Daniel Cameron for a decade now.
I'll finish the job the people of Kentucky hired me to do as well.
Yeah, people of Kentucky hired me to make sure that every single one of them that wants to pay for their diabetes medication will die far before they get access to insulin. My job here is done. One of the poorest states in the country, and I work tirelessly to maintain the desolate conditions for all of my constituents as I make a tidy profit on the side. When are liberals going to prop up McConnell as a hero, the old kind of Republican Party? Joe Biden will release a statement, if they haven't done so far, to literally say Mitch McConnell has served a phenomenal tenure in Congress. He is a statesman that I genuinely appreciate, and he is a representation of the old guard of the Republican Party that was much more manageable and much easier to deal with. He is a beacon of prosperity. He's a committed leader, that sort of thing. And my friend, he will say he is his friend. Nah, you're bugging. There's no way they'll give him the McCain treatment. Joe Biden has already called him his friend. Joe Biden has already talked about how he appreciates McConnell and everything he's done. Oh, well, there you go. There you Did this just release? Oh my God. No, literally, this just released at 2:38 p.m. Eastern time. Pre-watched, even though it already happened. President Biden said Wednesday that he was sorry to hear Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell stepping down and praised him for his honesty. I'm sorry to hear McConnell step down. I've trusted him and we have a great relationship. We fight like hell, but he has never misrepresented anything. I'm sorry to hear he's stepping down, Biden said, of his former longtime colleague in the Senate. Mitch McConnell is almost singularly responsible for one extra Supreme Court justice that is Republican, by the way. That is a psychotic reactionary, by the way. Almost singularly, almost single-handedly. Mitch McConnell famously, under the Obama administration, when the Senate had a Democratic supermajority, by the way, Mitch McConnell famously said he is going to do everything in his power to ensure that Obama is a one-term president. And he did that. Mitch McConnell was directly a change or a solidification of the party polarization becoming permanent. The Republicans used to be obstructionist every now and then. Mitch McConnell made it so that the Republican Party was always obstructionist, no matter what, unless a Republican is in charge. And even then, still they're obstructionist, but at least they're like down to swiftly pass legislation as long as it's like deregulation of key key sectors, or I guess like tax cuts for the wealthy. They obstructed everything nonstop and never got punished for it by their voters. And that is the reason why the modern Republican Party is infinitely more reactionary and infinitely more obstructionist. Contrast this with what Trump said about Nancy when she stepped down. Yeah, didn't he say something like, now Nancy can spend more time with her husband who's gay, with her gay husband, Paul Pelosi. They also, as you well know, ran campaigns on how the government doesn't work and they would make sure to defund the government. Exactly. Starving the beast is always easier under a bourgeois capitalist form of government. When you've lost Thomas Friedman, oh my God, Thomas Friedman has never seen a war he doesn't like until this Israeli genocide campaign. That's kind of crazy.
I have full confidence in my conference to choose my replacement and lead our country forward. There'll be other times to reminisce. I'm immensely proud of the accomplishments I've played some role in obtaining for the American people. Today is not the day to discuss all of that because, as I said earlier, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. There are many challenges we must meet to deliver for the American people, and each will have my full effort and attention. I still have enough gas in my tank to thoroughly disappoint my critics, and I intend to do so with all the enthusiasm with which they become accustomed. For entrusting
Evil never
me
dies,
with our
boys.
success.
Evil never dies.
It's been an honor to work with each of you. There'll be plenty of time to express my gratitude in greater detail as I sprint towards the finish line, which is now.
It's wild. He won't just retire and live the rest of his life on the beach. Crazy what being a sociopath does for you. I think at a certain point, they just do it for the love of the game, though. They love having that power. Mitch McConnell, I suspect that he's doing this because he has like health complications. There's no other reason why he would step down, especially because he has 2 more years. He has 2 more years to go in his current term. So why is it only Republicans that tactically retire? I don't even want to get into that. It's just, he is a ride or die for the Republican Party, though. Like, he does genuinely love the Republican Party and the Republican project in general. Obviously, he has been made very wealthy as a consequence of that. But beyond that, there are people like Donald Trump who don't give a about the prosperity of the Republican Party or the Republican project in general. Mitch McConnell's not one of them. Mitch McConnell definitely is the type of dude who cares about like the future of the Republican Party, something I've brought up many times in the past. I mean, he basically admitted that as such when he said he got married on Ronald Reagan's birthday. Like, it's almost religious. Do you think you'll be 87 years old dying in the streamer chair? If I make it to 87, which is unlikely, but if I make it to 87 as a streamer, that means that like all of my haters have. The only thing that prevents me from continuing the stream and makes this like a lifelong thing is the fact that I have so many cyber stalkers that are constantly bickering and doing everything they can to make my life a living hell. Because I do love what I do. I love it. I love streaming. I love this community. I think it's still important. It's not just about the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of every hour. This is some good news. FTC doing it yet again. Fighting the Kroger-Albertson mega merger. Kroger and Albertson for the Southwestern and Western Front are the 2 primary major supermarket chains. For those of you on the East Coast, you've probably never maybe encountered Kroger or Albertson or any of their subsidiaries. These are the 2 major national chains. A ton of other chains underneath them. Okay, Kroger. Oh my God, I don't care. Kroger. English is such a dumb language phonetically. So they want to merge for obvious reasons, and their claim is, Kroger and Albertson's claims are that they cannot compete with the national supermarket chains like Walmart and Amazon, and the only way for them to continue is by merging. What's really interesting about this FTC fight is that 3 different states have lawsuits against this merger, and the FTC isn't advocating antitrust on this on the most notorious way since the Reagan era, where you can advocate for antitrust, which is the consumer experience. In the United States of America, after the 80s, but especially so after Ronald Reagan, we changed the way that we analyze trust and trust busting. That the only way you can go after a monopoly is if they are actually hurting the consumer. If the prices stay low, you can do whatever you want. You can become a monopoly. This is being legislated, or not legislated, but like this is being targeted. This trust busting is being targeted on the labor side, functionally creating a singular buyer of resources, specifically labor. So this is actually a historic FTC fight for going against two massive mega corporations trying to engage in a mega merger, but instead it's also being fought on labor protection grounds, which is correct, and it should have existed, and it did exist at a certain point, but this is actually really interesting development in the FTC. Kroger and Albertsons' advocacy on why they must merge, by the way, is that they are doing it on pro-union grounds. They're claiming they are unionized shops and their competition, Walmart and Amazon, are not. Now, of course, that's a ridiculous proposition, considering that this mega merger would make it so that unions have less leverage against the mega corporation that would form.
Blocked the largest grocery store merger in American history. The Federal Trade Commission, along with several states, are suing to stop the proposed $25 billion deal between Kroger and Albertson. Jolene Kent is tracking this would-be merger. Jolene, good morning to you. So why are regulators stepping in here?
Hey, Tony, good morning. The FTC argued that the merger of Kroger and Albertsons would be bad for competition, lowering worker wages at the grocery store and driving up the cost of food, which has soared since the pandemic thanks to inflation.
Our union rep where I worked actively told us to vote for our most recent contractor quit. Yes, not all unions are equal. And as far as I understand, I don't want to misspeak here, but as far as I understand, a lot of the supermarket unions that exist are like managerial unions, not a union for managers, but a corporate union. More so interested in looking like a union, but is completely captured by the interests of the capital owning class. This is what I have heard.
In a statement, Albertson said it's disappointed that the FTC is using, quote, the same outdated view of the U.S. grocery industry that it used 20 years ago. Both companies argue this merger would lower prices for consumers and create good-paying union jobs, although the union that's representing the workers from both of those grocery chains opposes this merger, saying the companies have not been transparent enough in this deal. So, of course, this is the latest mega merger that you're hearing about. The Biden administration's FTC has consistently been stepping in to stop these mergers, and they consistently are citing antitrust law.
Like this get passed under Trump? It depends on how much Trump has gutted the FTC at that point, but most likely. I have always maintained the position that Biden's federal agencies have basically propped up this administration's every big W. The NLRB, the FTC, they are doing actually great work overall. This is a historic moment, historic things. This is the other often forgotten side of politics that I regularly talk about. The people that make everything work behind the scenes. Breaking news. According to Los Angeles Times, it is now confirmed that Hunter Schafer of Euphoria was arrested in the ceasefire demonstration at 30 Rock. Hunter Schafer fan accounts on top. HasanAbi L. I was a little skeptical of this yesterday. It is real. That is a crazy turn of events. I swear to God. Big news. Oh boy. Euphoria star Hunter Schafer was arrested Monday during a ceasefire protest at 30 Rockefeller Plaza during President Joe Biden's visit to Late Night with Seth Meyers. Now, why I thought this was like genuinely shocking or suspicious and probably not real. This is a hard launch. This was an impromptu. People did not know Joe Biden was going to be at 30 Rock. They found out and very quickly put together a protest at 30 Rock. JVP did, Jewish Voice for Peace. I had no idea that Hunter Schafer was already tight with Jewish Voice for Peace like that. That she would leave Milan Fashion Week, go to New York and attend an impromptu protest like this. What a legend. I feel like it's fair to be skeptical of it. I said I wouldn't believe it unless Hideo Kojima gave a tweet that's the seal of approval. What a queen. What do you mean, turn of events? You were the only one here that didn't believe it? I did not want to jump on this story because it sounded too good to be true. That's how I feel about it. It just sounded too good to be true. Maybe my skepticism gets the worst of me. Like my pessimism gets the worst of me. Euphoria star Hunter Schafer was arrested Monday during a ceasefire protest at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Schafer, who plays Jules in HBO's gritty teen drama, was among the dozens of people taken into custody following the demonstration, which stemmed from Israel's war in Gaza following Hamas Dallas October 7th attack. Jewish Voice for Peace can confirm that Hunter Schafer attended the Jewish Voice for Peace disruption inside of 30 Rock lobby held while President Biden was in the building for his interview with Seth Meyers on Monday afternoon. A spokesperson for Jewish Voice for Peace, the progressive group that organized the rally, said Wednesday in a statement to the Times. Hunter was arrested at the protest along with 50 other people. The spokesperson said, "We commend her commitment to the Palestinian freedom and to a future of justice for everyone." Please come on the broadcast. Our official new queen. You are already a queen. You have now been crowned as the official queen status. Save me, white girl. The 25-year-old actor who recently starred in Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was photographed holding large banners inside the plaza lobby during the protest and was also pictured being escorted away by police. The New York Police Department confirmed Wednesday to the Times that a total of 30 individuals were taken into custody. They were issued 2 summonses for trespass and disorderly conduct. A spokesperson for the department said they did not provide identifying information for Schafer. Representative for Schafer did not immediately respond Wednesday to the Times' request for comment. Hundreds of anti-Zionist Jews and allies just took over NBC's famed 30 Rockefeller Center headquarters in New York City to disrupt President Biden's appearance on Late Night Seth. Biden's deadly foreign policy has funded and fueled genocide in Gaza. 50 protesters were arrested by NYPD and Secret Service, Jewish Voice for Peace wrote on Instagram. These are the things that I learned about her background, but father is a pastor in North Carolina and a very progressive pastor in North Carolina. This kind of aligns with this behavior here. It's wild. It's not as viral as it should be. Yeah. It's likely her publicist trying to squash this. Yeah. Which is understandable considering what happened to Melissa Barrera, if you guys recall. If you're a young up-and-comer, Hollywood sometimes is not very fond of any kind of anti-Zionist perspectives that you may or may not believe and push for and advocate for. Let's watch Walter Masterson's done it again. Walter Masterson's out there doing the damn thing, talking to MAGA voters. Here is Hogwatch once again.
When he quoted 2 Chronicles 7:14, which is one of my favorite verses out of the Bible, it says that if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves.
Being humble really is important.
It's number one. The Bible says he doesn't humble you. The Bible asks you. God says, ask us to humble ourselves.
Donald Trump, famously humble guy. When I think of words to describe the former president of the United States of America, humble is the one that comes to mind immediately, I think. That is precisely the one I think of. And also, the second word that comes to mind is how not self-interested he is, how selfless he is. Bro, regular old Joe.
These teachers are predators.
Yeah.
These teachers are predators for teaching
ABCs, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're teaching my daughter about consent.
Consent?
Yeah.
About, there's the consent about
what is consent?
Without your parents knowing what the teachers are doing? Is it a sexual term? Yeah. I didn't know.
So you know what consent is?
No.
Oh, okay. So consent is like like if someone is gonna
putting a banana in a vagina.
Yeah, and that's but you have to consent to that.
Yeah. Say like yes, that's okay.
Yes, that's okay, or no, that's not okay. And if you don't give consent, then it's like rape or something.
Right.
They're so dumb, dude. They're so stupid. I don't know what to say about this other than like, I miss Trump supporters. They used to come into the chat all the time.
Yeah,
I believe that technically the age of consent in Michigan is 16.
No, she shouldn't be learning what is consent.
Well, right. How old is she though?
Yo, that's sus. That's sus. Bro, what the photographic memory when it comes to age of consent in each individual state is wild, okay?
Luciferian. That's what it is. It's called manufactured consent. It's a seduction routine.
Wait, what?
The worst. It's very Luciferian, and it's very hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around it because most people in the world.
It's called the People's History of the United States, right? You know, I'm talking about the real history, the people's history, not the history they teach in our schools. That's why I'm a QAnon conspiracy theorist, MAGA Trump supporter. Because of Howard Zinn and what's that other guy's name? Noah Chomsky? Manufactured consent. Is this one of those MAGA communists? No, I'm just kidding. Of course not. She doesn't know what the he's saying.
It's my daughter's thing. So she does child beauty pageants. Recently, in the swimsuit competition things, someone came in. This girl was wearing a rainbow bikini. And it totally distracted everyone, distracted my daughter. She nearly fell off the pole and ruined everything.
It's ridiculous. It's essentially, it's grooming is what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. We've got to get back on the tracks. We need common sense back.
In my daughter's school, they're teaching consent. And I don't think my daughter should be learning what consent is.
No, that's ridiculous. That's not something for the schools. Let's
Yeah.
stick with math, reading, writing,
Yeah, whatever happened to science and math. They're teaching my daughter what is consent.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm angry. You're right, brother. Don't teach these children what consent is. After all, that is a big part of why a lot of conservatives don't like sex ed, you know? Just think about that.
The migrant crisis, how has it affected you personally?
It hasn't.
Personally, I don't think I've been personally affected yet.
Wait, why not?
Yet.
Well, there's no services being used in the small town that I'm used. They haven't overwhelmed my little small town. They haven't affected my work yet or anything like that. However, it's affected me thinking that it's possible there could be terrorists coming through there.
Dude, it's so funny. It's like my imagined fears need to be addressed. It's like 90% of American politics. Half the country, unironically, is like being fed a healthy dose of paranoid delusion from mainstream media, and they just like consistently get on said paranoid delusions, create these fantasy scenarios in their minds, and then we have to sit there and act like they're being normal. They sit around and make up new things to be afraid of. It's crazy. It's like a child's brain. It's like, oh, well, I went to sleep and I imagined a scary dream and now I'm scared. Except now that's like dictating policy. Great. Okay. The Democratic Party should basically lean into that and try to win some of these voters, maybe.
Does anyone have a personal story of how they were affected by the migrant crisis?
Does anyone care about the migrant crisis in this country? Woo-hoo! Has anyone personally been affected by it?
We all are personally affected by it.
Oh, good. Do you have a good story about it? We're trying to get one person to like tell us their personal.
I don't have a direct story, but gotta find someone with a direct story.
I know, that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're calling out, bothering people. But someone's gonna have one. It's so important, like to all of us. It's my number one issue.
What are you looking for?
We're looking for someone with a personal story about the migrant crisis or the border.
I do not have a personal story.
Yeah, because everyone cares about it, right? It's like our number one issue. Yeah, does anyone have a personal story about the migrant crisis? Anyone?
That was so funny. She's so personally deflated when she's like, yeah, sorry, I don't have a migrant story where an immigrant raped me. One day, though, maybe I can come back to you, give you something personally, you know, maybe they stole my gerb or my catalytic converter or something, you know. I am very scared, though. One of them literally says, I wish it did. Yeah, I wish I did. I saw that.
In Canada, it took me a half hour to cross the border, legally. Okay? And meanwhile...
Wait, hang on. Do you guys know this guy?
No.
No.
I can show you my driver's license.
I mean, we should vet him. Coming across our border, stealing our jobs, going to our rallies.
There's my health card from Canada.
Oh, yeah. What's that like, by the way?
What's that?
What's that health?
What? Bro! Are you for real? Bro, he said it took him 30 minutes to get over the border. Dude, why does this always happen, bro? Why does this always happen? Canada is not sending their best, dog. Straight up, dude. Oh my God. Canada is always sending their worst, brother. I can't believe he's upset about crossing the border in 30 minutes. Have you flown into LAX? The do you mean 30 minutes? Am I crazy? I feel like I'm an American citizen. I come back into the United States of America. That's not taking 30 minutes, dog. I'm talking like from the moment that the plane touches the ground, getting out of LAX. That's like a 2 to 3 hour process sometimes on international travel. He's using it as a comparison saying, why don't they come over legally? No, dude. He's saying legal immigration takes a really long time, and that's partially because of these illegal immigrants that are ruining it for the rest of us. I don't think you understand the level of mania that he's operating on. He's literally saying a 30-minute border crossing is only that long and annoying for him because of all the people that are crossing the border illegally. That's what he thinks, which is hilarious because yes, the length of the legal asylum seeker process is unironically causing illegal immigration into the country. What I find particularly strange about this is that he doesn't recognize that, and he thinks that the 30 minutes of inconvenience that he has is far worse than the 13-year-long process it takes for some people to legally come into the country. Oh.
Does anyone have a good personal story about the migrant crisis? We're trying to get one for our podcast. Like something that happened to them or maybe someone they know. Just happened to you or happened to a friend? No?
We want to see if anyone's had a personal story where the migrant crisis affected them. So you know,
I wish I did.
I wish you did too.
I wish I did. I wish I did, brother. Them sexy ass salsa dancers, I wish they would put me down. You know what I'm saying? I dream about a future where that happens to me. I want to be victimized. Ooh, it's so sick. It's so dope. Yeah, I wish something would happen to me so I can substantiate my irrational fears is hilarious because basically gives the game away. You know that it's an irrational fear when you want to substantiate it. You know it's fake and you're still believing in it. The falsehood being real is more important to you than the potential consequence of like being harmed by an undocumented migrant down the line.
Do you have a story about how the migrant crisis has personally affected you?
Well, I am from New York State, so I get a lot of stories, and I see a lot of stories that's going on with New York State.
So what's happened to you?
Well, nothing personally.
Your family, do they have a personal story?
Yeah, they're trashing hotels. They're trashing motels.
Your family owns these hotels?
No, they don't own any hotels.
So wait, okay, yeah, we're trying to find like someone, we want someone to say like, all right, this is like our hotel and it was trashed and everything, because they're trying to get like,
otherwise it's just like he said, she said.
Yeah, I don't have any personal.
I love this because, dude, he's literally describing what he saw on TV. We watched those news articles ourselves. We watched those news reports. They're playing that Fox News on repeat, nonstop. Guys, you're also talking about a group of individuals that have never stepped foot inside of a city and are genuinely terrified of it because they personally think that cities are crime-ridden and like they'll immediately get like the knockout game done to them. So their entire framework and their entire fears come from the TV, and they're so passionate and they're so outraged by what the TV man is telling them. I do have respect for Walter not doing the like, oh, well, Biden is pushing for the wall, even though I guess in the situation it would still fit just to see their reaction.
I have property by the border. It's a family property, and illegals or migrants come over the property and we shoot at them. And I'm worried that if Biden gets reelected, I'm going to get...
I think one of the craziest parts about what Walter's doing here is that, yeah, he is lying. He's actually not lying. He's not shooting at the migrants, but there is a guy in California who did do that. He's describing a real story that we watched on 60 minutes. It's not him, but he is basically describing a real person.
Used to house migrants, and we got it shut down.
Good for you.
Thank you.
For
Yeah,
you. Great
we
job.
got them all. We had the building condemned, and then they started, camping out in tents outside. So we had the police, evacuate them and push them out of the county completely.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It needs to be done that.
Yeah.
Listen, we have homeless veterans. We have children that are starving.
They're also the first to like advocate to assassinate the homeless veterans by way of the police. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a first of all, no one gives a about veterans. Let's be for real. Just remember, 22 a day. Secondly, they especially don't give a about homeless veterans. They literally are advocating against them all the time. The only time a conservative ever cares about any of these issues, whether it be mental health or homeless veterans or anything like that, 22 a day is the number of veterans that kill themselves every single day in this country. They don't care about non-homeless veterans. They don't care about homeless veterans. They don't care about veterans at all. They especially don't give a about homeless veterans. They only care about them as long as they can use it as a talking point against something else. That's literally it. Republicans never bring up issues like real issues that are solvable by legislation that deserve to be solved until they can use it against some other reason, until they can use it against some other issue that they refuse to solve. Oh, gun control? How about mental health? It's like, okay, do something about mental health. No, you. Immigration? How about homeless veterans? Okay, let's give them homes. Oh, that'd be communism. Then why'd you bring it up? Has there always been a conservative movement like MAGA before Trump? They seem outrightly racist and hateful and insane. Yes, this is what the conservative movement always has been. I asked because I started paying attention to politics since 2019. Yes, this is what the conservative movement has always been. The main difference, I guess, with Trump was that Trump was the first time a person in elected office openly spoke exactly like the dudes on the ground that vote consistently and reliably for the Republican Party. That's the major difference. That's why they always say he's so truthful. A dishonest piece of that is honest about his dishonesty. He's honestly dishonest. This is something that I have personally experienced in the many years that I've, duked it out, debated people in the marketplace of ideas, and have advocated for socialism in the United States of America. One thing that I came to recognize is that the American audiences and Americans in general, American capitalists, regardless of their class position, look at the corporate structure as inherently undemocratic, but expect it to be. Like, they look at corporations, and if you tell them, like, well, it's not, it's authoritarian, it's a fascist design, like, that's how corporations work, they're like, yeah, it's fine, like, that's what it's supposed to be like. They have way more tolerance for a brutal authoritarian dictatorship when it's a corporation. Like, they have no framework of analyzing that from the perspective of, like, could this be a democracy? Could there be more democracy here? Could we run this in a better way?
And then we had the police kick them out and push them out of the county because they were intense outside the county, outside the building once it was condemned.
Don't let American citizens do that. They shouldn't let illegals do that. They're trying to make it a one-vote state.
Should we let Americans do that? Because that'd be real sick. I know what he's doing here, obviously, but I really want to hear them openly be like, well, actually, they shouldn't let Americans do that either. You know what I mean?
So wait, food stamps isn't socialism?
No, I'm saying there's people who are out there on food stamps. They're getting free insurance and whatever. Why couldn't we help, other people in bad situations as well, if we could?
We don't do it because it's socialism, though. Like, we're not a socialist country. That's what we want to be,
Americans has always been known to help people,
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't say you.
So you would
give them
support
free money all the time, but
yeah, but so you would support like healthcare for all?
I guess I would. Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
So housing for all, healthcare for all.
No, not housing for all. That's not
Just
what
Yo, I'm not even joking. She's got to be a landlord or something. That's a real estate developer. It's like, wait, not housing. Is this an example of the human nature being innately greedy and selfish? Yeah. Human nature is not innately greedy and selfish, where we have a tremendous amount of collective effort put into society being built. The only reason why we think human nature is innately greedy and selfish is because we exist under a capitalist structure. For those who live under capitalism, the assumption that greed is natural is no different than a coal miner thinking that black lung is natural and human nature. It is a byproduct of our circumstances. It is what we are taught. It is what we're taught since birth. Here, you want to see some good? For people who are asking, like, reactionary conservatism, has it always been this outwardly racist? Yes. The answer is yes. And also outwardly anti-communist, anti-socialist. Some of the people in that photo are still voting. I know. Some of the people in that photo are now the president of the United States of America, Joe Brandon. No, I'm just kidding.